Hello, heathens.
Good morning, heathens. Afternoon. I
Afternoon,
don't know. Time
something.
time doesn't exist really.
Truly, it really doesn't, though. Oh, you guys, we are finally here. We are recording this on the same day it comes out
Yes.
because of all the lovely weather we have had.
Oh yeah, we had a huge ice storm last week that cut out my internet and decided to drop a really big tree branch too. So we had lots of stuff to handle.
Yeah, we did. We had a really busy weekend this weekend. We were just talking about this weekend, and I was like, you know what, we should talk about this on the podcast. We went to a pagan convention this weekend, and it was an extremely eventful day as well
Yes,
as interesting energetically.
lots of lectures.
hmm
Um, no readings that I saw. Did you see anybody give a reading?
Honestly, I didn't see anybody doing readings. Oh, there was an aura reading,
Oh,
but that
that's
was the
right.
only
That's
one I
right.
saw.
Um, it was very interesting.
It was very interesting. We took some interesting classes. Have some thoughts.
I have some thoughts on that too.
You
And
know,
you
I,
and I were just discussing that, like we need to amp up our defense when we go there. And I believe that if you're going to go to a fair or any really group of people like that, take your protection for sure.
yeah. Guys, you got to be aware of when you go to any kind of event, festival, what's the other word, convention, anything like that. Um, do some protection stuff from before you guys go. If you feel absolutely drained afterwards, you probably got sucked of your energy. If you are having issues afterwards, you probably picked
Yeah.
something up. Like, be aware of how you're feeling after you go to these things. And if you can,
Hmm.
try to protect yourself before doing salt baths, wearing the right protection crystals, even asking a spirit guide or an animal guide to walk with you at all times and like create a good connection with them to be able to keep from picking anything up. Because not only do I think we pick something up, I just have a hard time with events like this
Hmm.
personally. And the reason being is because you guys, I was so excited. I was like, wow, there's so many speakers and so many classes, and we were having a hard time figuring out what classes we were going to take. I think my favorite class that we took was from Mara, um, who is
Yeah.
one of the owners of Even Star Chalice and Ipsy. Holy
Man,
God.
that class was so good.
Dude, that class changed my
Man,
life.
yeah.
Changed my
Like
life.
we were doing these what was they like transcendent meditations basically.
Yeah, I have it in my notes somewhere of what specifically she called it because I found it very, I've never heard of that before. Um, it is fundamental consciousness is what she
Okay,
called it. So Mara is a transpersonal psychologist, and I hope we can get her on the podcast in the future.
absolutely.
This woman is amazing. She's amazing. The energy work she does, her talking us through her daily practice, which is this fundamental consciousness. When we did it, you guys, holy crap. I had to have Nicole hold my hand afterwards because I was a little stressy messy because I could have floated off into a whole nother dimension, and being
Uh-huh.
in my body the way I was here, I was like, I was like, I'm like tapping her arm, like, hold my hand, because I was
Hold my
like
hand.
getting panicky. But it
Uh-huh.
was also such a cool, I've been trying to do it. That's what I'm gonna say.
That's cool. Yeah, because for me it was like I totally forgot where I was.
Yeah.
I feel like I really did become just consciousness, like just there was no time, there was no space, there was like no boundaries. Like I didn't have a body anymore. I didn't have like, I literally was like melding into whatever we call this, right?
Oh my God, yeah. It's like
Am I being glitchy?
a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
okay. We all know the universe is energy's a weird thing. We're just happy you're here and you got your internet back to be here.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so you guys, this fundamental consciousness thing is like being very aware of your body. And then after you've been aware of your entire existence in your body, you also become aware of your molecules, your cells, like the space in between. Then you become aware of the space around you. And it was mind bending in a way where I was like, holy crap, I haven't felt this in a long time, you guys. And I've talked about this on the podcast quite a few times. And I'll probably talk about it for the future. But
Mhm.
um, I talk a lot about mental thresholds. Um, and the way that I can describe it for you guys is in your head, you have an island. Think about like Avatar, the floating islands. You have one, right? You have to bring other floating islands up to keep expanding your land so that you don't fall off the edge of it. That is the mental threshold for me. And the way that Mara was talking about space and time, and I'm aware of this, but I've never been energetically aware of it. And that's what this class did for me. And I was just like, same as Nicole, I was like, I don't have a body. I'm supposed to be aware of my body right now, but I don't have a body. No, there's no walls. I, it's just, we're all space. It's all space. We're in space.
Yeah, yeah. Because I remember coming back and being like, "Oh, right, right. I'm in like a hotel with like in a room, in with people. Like totally forgot there were people there. Like it was so interesting."
I was like, we have to get up and talk to people, and we have another class, and we have to go and do things. I'm freaking out, man.
Right.
Nicole, hold my hand. I'm freaking out.
Well, Mara even gave you some Reiki to get you back in your body too.
Yeah, because I realized now that I've been doing a lot of just a simple breathing technique she taught us, I realize I sit in my face a lot. My awareness is here, not back here, not here, just straight here. And it's like blinders. And I've been trying to be more aware of things, even holding my phone. Yesterday, I had some time in between my clients and I was on TikTok and I was aware that there's a back to my phone. There's space behind my phone. And I was just being aware of these things and not seeing it so 3D or 2D because we do see it in a 2D form. And then we don't think about the 3D until we're looking at like our phone and we're like, oh, there's a front, there's a back, and twisting it and seeing all the edges. And
Oh
I was just
yeah.
like, stressed,
Stressed.
stressed.
It's so wonderful what we like consciousness. Do you know what I mean? And finding our way through it. And I know we're just babies at this point, but like it's to me it's been such an amazing ride. Like and there's been like super crazy emotional times and there's been really joyous times and strength and weakness and all of it. It's been all of it. And it's such a crazy ride.
Absolutely, I agree with you. It's really cool too, because like um this convention made me realize how far we've come. And that's not to say that we are better than anybody, because truly, you get in front of some of these people that are teaching these classes, and I'm like, uh, I don't know. Is baby.
Right, right.
And then you get some people that are like, wow, you guys are so amazing. You know so much. And it's really humbling because it's like, man, if you think I know much, you should see the senpais ahead of me. Like,
Right, right.
damn. Uh,
But it's
it,
not even like a more or less kind of thing. It's like we each have our own flavor that we bring to the world, right?
yeah,
So it's so interesting because like what your mind gets and my mind gets and what Mara's and then what Russ's and all these people that we have around us, like um what they bring to the table is such a great like soup of stuff. Like we don't have to know everything. We can use friends and family to help us through things too.
Yeah, it is so nice. It's a nice thing about building a community or finding your tribe. Finding
Right.
your tribe, man. Um, okay, so speaking of finding your tribe, today our episode is actually about ritual magic, man.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm excited to break this down for you guys and hopefully give you guys some inspo to start because I feel like a lot of the times when something new is brought to us, it's like, here's ritual magic, figure it out on your own. You're thrown to the wolves. And there's like this like almost toxic mentality of I'm not giving you every little thing. And it's not like a you need every little thing, but you need some fundamentals to even be able to understand it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so I'm excited to do that for you guys so that you guys can like maybe start like getting really interested in this. And just so you guys know, after today's episode in the future, if you guys are really interested in this, Nicole and I are going to be setting up a Patreon. And when you guys subscribe, there is going to be some bigger classes in the future that you can take, and one of them we are thinking will be Nicole's ritual magic class, which is kind of like ritual magic 101. It's
Oh,
where she can help break it down for you. She can help go into it for you and like really help. She does tutor right now too. And I guess tutor is the best way to say this, correct?
yeah. Tutoring is actually the best way for ritual magic because you have to do the work every day. And we, like, there's only so much I can hold your hand during it, right? Like, you have to go and
Yeah.
experience it. And then we come back to the drawing board. And it's almost like a child where you're like, is this right? Did I because you start going through your mental almost debris
Yeah.
and you start um letting go of things that you no longer need in there and it starts to quiet down your brain a little bit, which is really nice.
Yeah, and you guys, it's so nice to have somebody to go through that with because it's like validation in a healthy way where it's like, no, you actually, it's good you're feeling this, or it's good you're getting this, it's good you're going
Right.
through this, and like you're right where you need to be because sometimes we need that. It's almost like the pat on the back of like, you're doing a good job.
Right.
You're
My
doing a good job.
well, my thing is like, am I crazy? I think I'm crazy. Like, I'm always trying to find out, like, is it reality or is it like,
I mean, I question if I'm crazy quite often though, so.
right? I'm like, maybe I'm crazy. It's fine.
Weird, yes. Crazy, maybe.
Right. I think you need a little bit of crazy meat to spice things up, you know?
Absolutely. So let's jump into it. Well, let's talk about, first of all, what ritual magic is.
So my definition, hold on, great. Okay, there we go. So my definition of ritual magic is ritual magic is a system. It's a system that allows you to eventually transcend the need for systems. It has a very rich history. You can start reading it now and you would never read all of it because there's so much information that has been written down and everybody has their own kind of um, tweak on it because ritual magic is literally your thing. It's not anybody else's. Like I can tell you where to start and this is how we do things, but then you kind of take it from there and like mold it as your own thing because your energy system is different than my energy system. So, and your beliefs are different than my beliefs, maybe a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm heavily into the Bible and Christianity, uh, not the religion so much, but anyway, I digress. Uh, where like you would have a connection with something else, right? Because you wouldn't have that connection with that as much as I do, right?
Right. And the definition that I found goes along exactly with what you're saying. It's what like resonated with me is just rituals are an act of a dedicated practice that we all have in our spiritual lives, as well as the mundane. Ritual magic, however, is much more because it's set with intention to produce and manifest an outcome using spiritual techniques. So it's basically like your daily practice. You do it daily, and you commit to it, and it's set with an intention to get a better outcome in your life, whether that's mentally, emotionally, all of it actually. Because
It's also spiritual substance. And I think my understanding of, hold on, am I in? Okay. My understanding of ritual magic from the beginning was like what I saw in movies. It was more about manifesting or human sacrifice or
you're gonna
conjuring up a
conjure.
demon.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I never even thought I would be in ritual magic, had no pathwork towards that, had no interest in it really. But what I noticed that I was doing, I kept seeing like all of the things that I was studying. So tarot, astrology, intuition, all these things that I was studying, Reiki. I almost felt like they were like different roads leading to like one road. And I didn't quite know what that meant until I I picked up a book, which is funny. So I listened to a lot of stuff on Audible. And you know how they have that suggestion thing, like this is for you.
Mhm.
Uh Damien Eccles' book came up and I was like, I'm not reading that. Because we're hairdressers. So from my point of view of 20 years plus in the industry, anything that has a high female um, population,
Mhm.
and we have very little uh, men in there, that sometimes the ego of the male can get um, bigger or exploded because all these feminines are looking for validation and attention and whatever, right?
Right.
And that's not to say to be judged or anything. That's just something that I have witnessed, right? So um when I saw the front of the book, it was him with all his tattoos, and I had no understanding of who he was at all. I literally judged a book by its cover because that's what I do.
Me too, though.
And so I looked at it, I was like, no, I'm not reading that. That seems like garbage. And it said high magic on it and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, of course, then it started coming up like proper universe, like, no, you need to read this. So, like, it came up again, and I saw it on my Facebook, and I saw it like it started coming up in all these places. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll read it. Like, I'm going to prove the universe wrong, is like what I thought.
Mhm.
So, I started reading it, and it completely, like, from the get go, I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. I've been looking for a practice to put all the stuff that I have studied into motion. And when he talked about spiritual substance, I was like, nobody talked about that. They either talk about manifesting or like having peace and, mental clarity. And we're trying to, heal all our wounds and like, but nobody gave me anything to do it with. Right.
Right.
And I was really missing that kind of practice for and I was really missing sitting with the divine and interacting with that kind of energy. Because like when you go to classes, people aren't. We're all not like healed. We have our egos, like and me included. It comes up. I try. We try our best to be the best person we can be, right?
Right.
Um, Classes are somewhat hard for me because I um it's a lot of energy and I realize how much I've really like spend pushing people out of my auric field or out of my body because I can feel them.
Yeah, it
So
makes you exhausted, man.
it really does. Um, I really noticed this with meetings because I would get really mad in meetings, and I realized that it was people suppressing their anger, and I was like, oh, and then it would come when I was like less trained, it would come up through me. So then I would like have some outburst and be like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, I wasn't mad. Like, and but that's the life of, like, it's like, okay,
Of learning magic. Yeah, learning your body,
absolutely.
learning energy work, learning all of this stuff. Yeah. So, since you kind of brought all that up, I think we should talk about the different kinds of magic that there are.
Okay.
Because I feel like this is important to know. And I know I feel like the way you break it down is a really easy way to understand.
Okay. So what I am studying right now is called high magic because it is more mental and energy work. There's nothing really physical about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all imaginary. It's all, doing stuff in your brain and imagining a star and these energies that we put out there.
Yeah, you're not using any physical materials when you're doing it.
Right. So when they call natural magic or low magic, that is, and it's not to say like one's better than the other. It's not. It's just the fact that low means like more towards the earth and
Mm-hmm.
matter. So with like natural magic, you have your herbs, your crystals, your spell jars, your intentions where you put in these like ingredients, almost like a soup, to manifest what you want with that.
Yeah, so you guys, just to give you like the difference too of how it's not bad or one's better than the other. Nicole practices high magic. I would be somewhere towards low magic, where my daily ritual would be considered more high magic, but then the things I do when I'm actually doing something specific would be considered low magic.
Right. Well, yeah, anytime that you make we pick up herbs or make oils
Or
or
simmer pots even.
or simmer pots, yeah, all that stuff is considered lower natural magic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that it? Is that all
Yeah,
of
I
it?
think that was good because it's just those two big distinctions, right? Like
Right.
I'm sure there's so many more, you guys, but for our first like ritual magic 101, we don't need to go that deep into it right now. Um, so really quick, I also wanted to talk about the difference of ceremonial magic and ritual magic because when you guys go into groups or you have somebody like our group, the Greenwood Society, which is Rocky's group, we go and do ceremony on pagan holidays. And I wanted to talk to you guys the difference between the two because there is a little bit of a difference. So ceremonial magic is usually involving like that's where you see people with their formal garb and it's usually out in nature and involves some form of teaching or something acted out, and that's where it takes a lot more planning because we have to make sure everybody knows what corner they're calling. We have to know what we're doing that day so that we can actually perform it out to create the magic and all of our intentions are in the same place. To where ritual magic is going, or even lower magic too, but in this form we're talking ritual magic, it can be done privately. It can be
Mm,
it can, again, when Nicole said that this can be anything you want it to be, it can be something as simple as lighting a candle with intentions and meditating on those intentions. It can be all the way up to doing full out ritual performances before yourself, and
mhm.
it's just ritual magic is something that's a dedicated part of practice, and ceremonial magic is normally the, and I mean this in the most respectful way, but the theatrical part where we're actually all getting together and performing something. So you'll hear
Right.
like ceremonial magic talked about a lot in these groups, and that's what it means. But I
I know
wanted to,
there's also chaos magic, which I have not studied, but my limited understanding on that is like a lot of times they will invoke like either cartoon characters or stuff like that, which is fine. Uh, but it's just something I haven't studied yet.
I haven't studied chaos magic either, and I don't know much about it. I have heard of like not only cartoon characters but like superheroes,
Yeah,
supervillains, stuff like that. People get really into those energies like um I don't know, Lord of the Rings, Harry
right.
Potter, stuff like that. They're invoking those energies because we've talked about this before. At least I think we have, and if not, we're going to right now. But every energy has an egregore, meaning it has a thought form behind it. Like Nicole has the best example with McDonald's, if you will give them that, because that's the one that made it make the most sense for me.
I don't remember that. That was
Oh,
the
okay. So you see the McDonald's sign, right? We see it all the time. And you see McDonald's, you think McDonald's, you recognize it. You're thinking about it for a second. Think about hundreds of millions of people thinking about McDonald's every time they see a McDonald's sign or see a
yeah.
McDonald's commercial. There's a thought form behind it. It's kind of the same thing. So, like,
Hmm. Well,
there's,
that's why your angels and stuff like that are so powerful because they've had people praying to them and hold on, budgie. Okay. People praying to them, people thinking about them, people feeding them,
yes.
for centuries, for millennium. Like they're, a stronger being because they've had more people depositing thoughts and power into them. Because your energy flows where your thoughts go, right?
And I can't remember that saying. Rocky gave us a saying, and I knew you already knew it, of something about a symbol has power. Um, it's kind of like where intention flows, or where energy goes, intention flows, whatever that saying is too. But it's
I
basically that,
forget.
like, any symbol in nature, any symbol that we come up with enough energy behind it, it's going to have a meaning. It's going to have power. It's going to have its own thing. So that's like with chaos magic, it might sound silly that people are invoking um a fictional character,
Right,
but there's a lot of power behind it. It's kind of the same as angels. Unless you've seen one, you don't really know it's real, right?
right,
But you believe in it, you believe in the energy. Imagine hundreds of thousands of people, like millions of people believing in that same energy.
right. Well, that's the interesting part because I'm not, and we may be getting this a little bit wrong because my lack of understanding at this point of my journey on what maybe angels really are because of our human brains. Like, sometimes it's hard to like really articulate what things are. And, I try to write everything in pencil in my head because I know it's going to change with the more knowledge that I get.
We believe in everything and nothing. That should be on a t-shirt because that's like the one. There are like two, no, three sayings I can say very confidently in my life. I believe in everything and nothing. I am becoming, and I'm lucky and everything works out for me.
I'm lucky and everything works out for me.
That's my third saying that I strongly can believe in.
Oh, that's a good one, man.
I know. I think I've talked about it on every episode because I really want you guys to start saying it. It's so worth it. Oh,
Well, the funny thing is a lot of this stuff like will cost you no money whatsoever, right? It's
yes.
just a saying. That's it.
Okay, so question for you. Let's talk about like what steps you have to take to start in ritual magic. Like where do you even begin? Like what is a good starting point?
Oh God. I guess the best way to do it, from what I found at this point, is pick up um Damien's book High Magic because it literally is the simplest form to get you going. He puts it all out there where I can understand it. Uh, and once you start practicing, you'll pick up other things because, like, is it by no means you should listen to one person. in ritual magic, this is a very big kind of undertaking. Like you have to, no, you have to, but like what you end up doing is researching other magicians, and especially like some of them, like Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn. And really that's where it all comes from. A lot of it is comes from the Golden Dawn. And like I said, my knowledge is super limited. So if I get anything wrong, I am sorry about it. Because I know that there are other forms from, I think, the Golden Dawn, which is like the AOA, but I know nothing about that. And I know there's other like there's so much more out there than I'm really giving credit to, and I really do apologize for that because of it's just so much to undertake, and I've been in it for it's almost 2 years in April.
Okay, you guys, just to be clear, if any one of you listen to this damn podcast and you think my woman should be an expert after 2 years, there is something we wanted to talk about that goes along with this. Ritual magic is not a race. There's no award at the end
Right,
other
right.
than your own personal growth. There's no
That's
way.
it. Right.
You're never going to know all of it. This is not something you start and you think you're the freaking hare and you're just going to make it before the turtle.
Right. It literally, and there's times was getting when I was starting and I would like do so well and did it every day, the discipline. And then like I would fall off the wagon for a week, for two, and then get back on the wagon. And like and I do say that like having a mentor or a tutor session or something like that to keep you credible does actually help. And then my next step was because I really wanted to well, what I've noticed is this podcast and my ritual magic class are extremely helpful motivator for me to learn about this stuff in a more detailed fashion, and um, it gives me credit. It holds me accountable to do it.
Yeah, it's almost like therapy, you guys. You guys don't get told to start doing something in therapy and then you don't do it. And the next time you show up, you just tell your therapist, oh, sorry, I didn't do it. You're paying
Right,
for it. Jill, you're
right,
paying for this. You're paying for a
right.
mentor. You're paying for a therapist. You're paying for this shit. Why would you have like if you were going to say you started doing ritual magic and you're like, man, I'm hitting a wall or I feel like I'm not doing this right. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna actually start consulting with Nicole. I really would love to hear her advice on this. And you're paying her and you're just gonna what show up and be like, I didn't do what you told me to do. I mean, I
Right.
didn't do anything. I mean, shit happens. We get it, but at the same time, like you got to be held accountable sometimes for
It
this
just,
stuff.
yeah, and it really does just help with that motivation sometimes when you don't have it yet. Like I didn't have it yet. So having somebody keep me accountable, even like just in my head, like, oh, I'm gonna see this person in a month. I've gotta like, and there's no lying to it. It's not like you can lie and be like, oh, I did it. I mean, you could say that, but anybody in the practice knows because your energy is different. Or, like the stuff we're working on right now, because not only am I teaching a class, but I'm taking a class. And the stuff that we're learning changes your energetic field and how you relate to the world. And so people know just by how you talk, how your ego is, how do you know what I mean, like how you
Yeah.
interact with a person.
And then, like, if you're trying to explain what you experienced when you did it, I mean, somebody who's been doing this for a very, very long time that has known what it's like is going to know if you're bullshitting.
Right.
That's like when we took that class on Saturday for Mara. She's like, does anybody have any questions? And I was like, timidly, slowly raising my hand, and she saw it. And I was like, kind of like, fuck, now I actually need to ask this. And I was like, is it normal to feel like spacey and like high slash anxiety ridden, like you're not here afterwards? She's like, Yeah, she's like, you're making me think back to when I first started. And she was like, yeah, the first time I experienced this, she's like, I puked. And I was like, cool, great,
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm gonna fucking barf right now. And I'm like, I am glad I'm not, I'm glad I'm actually experiencing it in a way that makes sense because I was like, is this normal? Like, should I be
right.
experiencing this right now?
Well, plus you're probably in that state like, what is wrong with me right now? Did I do it wrong?
Did I do it wrong? I thought I was supposed to be super hyper aware of my body right now, but I'm more aware of the space of everything around me.
Right.
Nothing's real. Nothing's
Nothing's real.
real. um, okay, before I keep going into like steps and things like that, I would like to talk about this really quick too, because I feel like hearing about ritual magic and hearing about magic in general is a hard concept at first to grasp. I remember feeling like this. Like what there's a difference, you guys, between how we talked about ego, the big E and the little E, in religion, the big R, the little R. We're talking magic with and without a K is the best way that we have found to describe it. Magic with the C is theatrical. It's your Harry Potter Revelio and you know, Havita Kadibi.
It's well, it's also stage performance like David Blaine and what's that other guy? Copperfield
Was it
and
Siegfried and Roy magic too?
I
Or am
think
I
they
thinking wrong?
were. I don't know because I don't think I've ever seen.
Oh, what about Angel Chris?
Oh, Chris Angel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to see him perform just for the fun of it.
Absolutely.
So then when we're talking magic with a K, which Nicole had explained earlier, but just to reiterate to make this super clear for you guys, magic with a K is going to be magic with your mind, magic with your energy, your intentions, you're using your whole body, your soul, your emotions, all of it. It's all starting to do working with that, basically the essence of you.
Right.
So
I
that's
mean,
the
that's
magic with the K we're talking.
it really is. I mean, the best way to describe it is it really is kind of like Reiki in the air. Like you're gonna pull it down from you're not using your own body energy. You're using creation energy. You're really connected to creation, to that higher source. And you bring it through you and you put these thought forms in the air.
It's so funny you just said that because you just brought me back to when I started. So, my journey within ritual and magic's just a little bit different with than Nicole's. When she started doing ritual magic, it was like one of those things where I was like, I think that's too much for me. Because at the time it was, I
Right,
wasn't
right.
ready. So my form of magic has been lower magic with some use of ritual high magic, which has been great. But I learned mine from, of course, I say this a lot, but from Rocky. Rocky taught us a different form of the middle pillar and a bunch of different things. And then I started taking things from Damien and things from Rocky, and I've created my own that feels really good. And so when I started, I remember talking to you about this because I was like, I am getting fucking exhausted from doing this. And it was
Yeah,
like, I didn't understand it until now, like what, a year or two later. Now I'm like, it's because I wasn't pulling energy from anywhere else. I was using all of my own. I didn't know how to pull energy from the stars, from the earth to like, you know, use that instead of using my essence. And it
right.
was fucking exhausting, you guys. Trying to do it in the morning. I'm like, I can't do this in the morning because I want to go right
This
back
is
to bed.
this is supposed to make me feel good.
Yeah, this is supposed to be making me feel better, and I feel exhausted. And it was one of those things where, like, I luckily had Nicole who had, we've talked about this before, but we're first like head first people, and Nicole was head first into this shit doing it. And I was like, so like, is this normal? Like, should I be this tired afterwards? And it was kind of just a learning experience of like actually learning what energy feels like. Like
Right.
feeling what different energies feel like takes a long time, man.
Well, when I first started it, I realized that it was energy work. That's what really like hit me. And I'm pretty sure my guides would talk to me very, they give me these downloads and stuff, these ideas. So when I first started, I actually started receiving Reiki healing for my meridians because I know that you literally can burn out your energy centers because they're not ready to like receive those big doses of energy.
When you say meridians, do you mean like the chakras?
Yeah, like chakras.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, what's you're using big words, Nicole. We don't use big words on this podcast.
I don't know. I'm just regurgitating it. I don't actually know.
Yeah, you do. I remember when you were getting Reiki all the time, and it was like, I feel like it did make a big difference for you because after you would get the Reiki session, it was like you were like, again.
Yeah.
It's like all the tension was like, whew, okay, I can handle this. Like it helped to like move it around in your body for where you needed it.
Well, especially like healing. If I blew one out, healing, or if if hold on. Okay, there we go. If Yeah, because I remember early on, because super excited, head first, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Damien lives in New Orleans, and there was a huge hurricane coming towards New Orleans, right? As it
Forgot
does,
about
right?
this. Yes.
Right. So I was like, well, we got to do something about it. How do we how do we save everybody?
I remember this. You were the knight in shining armor. You're like, I'm gonna save all of New Orleans.
I'm gonna save all of it. Yeah, blew out my meridians like way too much. Like I even at some point, I guess my Reiki practitioner was like, "You took some of the storm in you." I was like, "Oh, great!" Like,
You're like,
because
that's lovely.
I felt like garbage. I felt tired. I felt like um just lethargic. Like it was that healing moment, like when you're trying to get back to like health or whatever, and you're like, oh God, I gotta sleep.
Okay,
Okay, there we
so
go.
yeah, I was gonna say, let's take a breath, people.
I
Um,
keep glitching and I can see it in the camera, so I like try to stop.
you're like hyper aware now. I think we
Yeah,
all
totally.
appreciate it. Because you guys, you want to know something really funny? I'm so obsessed with our podcast. I listen to it a lot. And it's funny because I don't hear my voice on the podcast. Like I hear my voice in my head. So I dissociate from it being me. Listening to our podcast like it's somebody else talking to you.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's so awesome.
I love it so much. And I'm like, why is there not another episode?
Oh, we gotta make it.
Exactly. I was like, damn it. Okay, so in your class, what do you can you give us like you know how like when you go to a class you get a syllabus? Like what are you going over in your class? I think I remember you saying you start with thoughts and then you move into something else, but I can't remember.
Yeah, so I literally like wrote the class as it was going.
Hmm.
And because it formed itself, right?
Right.
So what I did is I started with thought because if thoughts are things, we really want to be start aware of these programs that we have that we are not aware of, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm ugly, like all this stuff that we tell ourselves, or like you can't do that, or these thoughts that we just carry around that we're not aware of. So the first thing we start out with is noticing your thoughts, but not being so judgmental about them, just being aware of them. And then if you are so inclined, is to put a positive spin on it. And I don't mean it like toxic positivity, but like, how would I reword this in my own way to make it a little more on the positive side than the negative side? So if I think I'm ugly and that's what like that's what I'm playing, then like, well, I'm a good human being, or like something in the opposite realm, but not so like I'm beautiful and I'm
Mine is
uh
imposter syndrome hits me a lot,
yeah,
where it's
oh
like,
God.
well, do you actually know what you're talking about? And it's like one of those things where I have to tell myself, we're learning. We're
Right,
still learning. We're learning with everybody. Everybody's learning with us. We're keeping everybody in the know of what we now know.
right. And at the level that we know,
Mm-hmm.
and but like it's very much like imposter syndrome. So noticing that and starting to debunk them, or like shift them, or even get rid of them. Like if that thought does not serve me, I don't need that intrusive thought either. Even
Mm-hmm.
like looking into thoughts and how they form and what they do. And even like at this point, you could start therapy too, getting through all that mental debris.
Right.
And then the second class we did thoughts. Oh, what did I do?
Was it meditation or LBRP?
No, it was meditation because we went through a lot of it before we even did LBRP. So then we did meditation and about how to kind of control your mind a little bit. So we did like the solar and the lunar breaths. So even like controlling your breath too, because your breath is where you take on ethereal energy for your like auric field and stuff. So as you breathe in, not only are you breathing in like life force into your body, but you're also breathing etheric energy into your auric field and stuff.
But damn, that's a cool thought.
It's kind
So,
of cool, like if you need to uh like if you're not having if you don't feel like you have enough energy or anything, like that's really how you get more energy.
so what's LBRP?
So the LBRP is the lesser banishing ritual. So this is where you start doing magic. Um, you are going to work with pentagrams. You are going to work with the circle. You're going to work with angels. What you're doing with the lesser banishing ritual is taking out any impurities of that element. This is an elemental cleansing almost. So we've picked up these impurities. So like too much air would be like overthinking. Too much fire would be easily frustrated, easily angered. Too much water would be too much like emotional, being controlled by your emotions. And too much earth is like laziness or not enough money and that kind of stuff, right? So when you start doing it on a normal basis, you start getting these impurities out of your system. So you start to become a little more like even till. Plus, you start to wake up. Plus, you like your intuition gets stronger. So, like, I remember one of the side effects, I was getting a fridge. And this is when I really noticed magic working. I got a fridge, and they had you let them come in and you're like, I like to leave them because I don't want to make them nervous or anything like that, right? So
Well, you're
they
not their
were,
supervisor. They know what
yeah,
they
I'm
should know what they're
not,
doing.
right. I'm not going to micromanage them,
No.
like, um, so they did end up denting the fridge. And it was so funny because they came in and they were like, ma'am. And I was like, yes. And they were like, so we dented the door. And I was like, oh. So I walked outside because that's where the fridge was. And I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, you did. And I was like, okay, so what do we do next? Like, I never worried about it. I didn't take it personally that they did it. Because if you think about it, if you really think about it, they did not want to dent my fridge.
Hell
They didn't
no.
they didn't do it personally to me.
Hell no. They
Like,
didn't even want to come in there and tell you. They're
no, they,
um,
they want to like
excuse me,
put
ma'am.
right. They want to like put the fridge and go because they have other things. They don't want to deal with this stuff as much as I don't, right?
Right.
So I was like, well, what do we do? Do we put it back on the truck and you bring me a new one? Now I needed a fridge. Like it wasn't like mine was old, but it still worked. Mine was broken and we didn't have anywhere to put food. So we had to have it. So, and it was so funny because these guys literally like looked at me like I was crazy because I wasn't yelling at them. And it was completely different than what they have experienced.
You
Because I
know,
remember,
they probably left and they were like, dude, is this lady like a fucking psychopath? Like she didn't tell us, she didn't get mad. Like, is she gonna come for us in her sleep?
well, that was great. So, because I was like, I looked at them, I was like, all right, so what do we do now? And they both looked at me and they couldn't even like form words at this point. They were so in shock. And then I was like, all right, let's call the sales rep. So we called the sales rep, like we got everything taken care of, whatever. Like it was fine. And I gave her $20, like a tip.
Yeah. You give him a tip.
Yeah.
Oh, they were probably so happy. They were like, that was the best ever.
It was funny though, because the one guy threw the other guy under the bus, and I was like, that's not nice. Like,
You're like so unnecessary, my guy.
right, right.
We don't need to do that.
I'm like, oh,
So with LBRP, when you start balancing out these energies, you're noticing that like you're more stable, would you say? Or like less things bother you? Like, how would you
um,
describe what it's done for you?
it's more balanced. It's definitely like it's more balanced. And um there's a for me, there's a knowing to it too. So like if somebody comes at me, I automatically know that either this isn't about me or it's um like I'm not as affected or moved by stuff anymore as much.
It's like how Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now talks about how you become unconscious when somebody comes at you, because it's either your self-identity, you feel attacked, the words, your ego, you feel attacked, you get very defensive. And as you become more and more aware of that, you become less defensive and then you become conscious where you're not getting into this unconscious bitey, I gotta fight back kind of thing. It's like you're
Right,
conscious about what's happening, and so it makes it easier to deal with because you're not fighting it, and you realize it's not about you, or you don't feel like your ego's getting hurt or your self-identity is getting
right,
attacked.
right.
That's what it's reminding you talking about this is reminding me of that.
It's a lot like that because like even like, we get mad when somebody like cuts us off in the freeway. That person wasn't thinking of you. They're probably in their head, not even thinking, and they're like, oh, I gotta get to work or whatever. They didn't think of you. And then we get all mad and offended because like you did this to me and I'm a victim now. Like
I saw this post on I think Instagram or wherever it was on the Ethernet.
Ethernet.
Ethernet. And it said that the other people in their cars on the road are not just NPCs.
Oh,
And I was
right,
like,
right.
oh, I do that. I'm like, and so now I've been trying to be hyper aware that these people in other cars are people with lives too, not just fucking NPCs for me to fly around or go slow in front of, depends on the day.
Right, right.
But it's interesting to think about because I don't think enough people think about that specifically because in my head they are NPCs and it is a game and it's a test and they just need to get the hell out of the way.
Get out of my way.
Get out of my way. I'm running early and I like to be 20 minutes early to everything. They're going to make me 19 minutes early.
Right.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. Get out of my way. Why are there people here?
Um, okay, so I feel like that's some good basics to know about like what you're going to be doing when you start. And there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about too, because as you further progress, if you get the book, you start doing this, you can get a tutor. You will end up evoking and invoking things.
Right.
And I wanted to talk about the differences in those because I feel like just knowing the difference will help you understand what you're doing so then you can actually experience it. So to invoke is to call forth, conjure, whatever entity or spirit or being, and to invoke is to call it inside.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool to like think about.
Yeah, because I've seen the difference, but I never like I've seen the different words,
Yeah,
but I've never like looked into it like what they are. That's
me
so cool.
neither. Because I was like, well, yeah, you're invoking like, okay, so when I got sick this last time, which we all remember the sick heathens episode, I invoked Raphael. I looked up what archangel was going to be the best for healing sickness. I didn't realize that there was a difference between evoking and invoking. Of course, they're two different words, right? But in my
Right.
head, they both mean the same
Right.
thing.
No, I agree.
So I invoked him, and instead of when you do the at the towards the end of the LBRP, I don't know all the words for this, you guys. Again, I am extreme baby in this. And you call forth all the angels to create your protection around you, above and below. I did Raphael for all of it. And
Yeah.
then after I said a little prayer to him to ask him to help heal the sickness within me. And if it's coming from somewhere specific, I just wanted to know so that I could heal that, whether it's a
Like
bond, a tie,
connection.
whatever it
Right.
is. Yeah. Or if it was like an attack, which I knew it wasn't, but just in case, I was like, also, if it's attack, please allow me to be aware of that so that I can like then do the steps I need to do. I also should have invoked him to bring him inside. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I
I
know.
mean, I guess I just don't know enough about this to like say whether it's inside. Because really, I was taught that what I mean, we think that these entities are outside of us, but they're not because what is inside is outside, as above, so below, as within, so without. And when you're doing magic, you absorb it into your being. Not only is it stamped on the outside of your auric field, because what you're doing when you're doing the lesser banishing ritual and the invoking ritual is you're strengthening and crystallizing your aura. You're making it stronger. And um, some of the things that I have learned is that at this point is that when we're done with the ritual, like it sits in my auric field. But I also take it inside too. When I close down a ritual, like sometimes I'll think about putting that kind of energy, that divinity into every atom, every cell, the spaces in between, the neutrons, the electrons, like this sciency kind of stuff that we know is that we can't see. So then I try to make sure all of my human meat suit has all that stuff too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't do this, obviously, like the invocation and the evocation. I would love to talk to somebody that does, which I think in the future we have somebody that probably does. So we'll be excited to talk to him about all of his ritual magic stuff.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I wanted to put that out there because I do see those words used a lot. And I'm like, what the fuck do they even mean? I don't even know. I know nothing. Um, okay, so where are you at in your practice these days?
Well, I was so I was up to like banishing and invoking the planets, but since I got a new like they had reformed the structure of our classes in November,
Yeah.
and it was almost like starting again. So I was trying to keep up these practices that I had and the ones they were giving us. And I finally just let go of that like latter part because I'm going to get there anyway, right? This is going to be a 3-year journey, 4-year journey, or whatever to get us through this. And I'm like, why am I holding on to this? I might as well. Because they talk about squeezing every last drop and knowing the lesser banishing ritual inside and out and squeezing every bit of knowledge. So even like Googling lesser banishing ritual and looking and reading what other people say about it, how their experience was about it, how other people do it differently, how other magicians do it differently. Like um, the one in the Golden Dawn compared to the one in Modern Magic, compared to the one in Higher Magic. There's even one, there's a book, what is this one? By John Michael Greer, Learning Ritual Magic. So knowing, do your research and find the authors that speak to you the most, and then go from there. And there's a lot of stuff on YouTube that you can look at. Foolish Fish is a great one to look at his book series because he reviews books, magical books, and they're great.
Mm.
And he also does ritual magic. I know Damien has a lot of YouTubes on magic and certain things, and he's on Patreon.
Yeah, Damien
Um,
Eccles.
and then knowing a lot of the correspondence has really been helpful when we listen to Know Thyself podcast because their ones it really broke down like what Saturn was and what Venus was and these correspondents that you're going to be working with, these energies, these gods that you're going to be working with.
Yeah, I definitely learned a ton from Know Thyself.
The
They
other
are,
thing is dreams. You when you start this, you're supposed to start keeping a dream journal too and writing down your dreams and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I will say when we started my dreams really amped up when we started taking classes with Rocky. Not so much like me just doing like, because again, I'm not as deep into the ritual magic side as Nicole is. It's just we kind of have a little bit of different paths within our little journey together here, which is fine. It's actually
Oh yeah.
lovely. We enjoy it. But my dreams really started amping up after taking classes with Rocky, and um it is very interesting because if you guys feel like you have dreams but you are having a hard time remembering them, um start saying before bed, I will wake up and remember my dreams.
Yes.
What that caused to happen for me too, and be aware of this because you might need to be a little more specific, is I would wake up right after my dream in the middle of the freaking night. So then I just get up really quick, open the notes up on my phone, write down a few little things so that I can spark my memory when I actually wake up. And then it would spark it so much that I'd be able to write down my entire dream. And sometimes I have dreams I have to go to Rocky for the interpretation because I literally can't figure out what the hell just happened.
Right, right. Yeah, having a magical community that you trust, their knowledge, is
Mm-hmm.
really key as well.
Absolutely.
You and I have been building this community for, I mean, not building, but looking for, I guess,
Yeah.
for quite a while now. And we've been through some people that weren't in our highest good or were a lesson for us to learn, you know. And even that, you know, I'm very thankful about the start and where we started and stuff like that.
Me too.
Um, so so yeah, having somebody to either, because you really helped me with um, like, oh, okay, that's normal. Okay, that's like what I'm supposed to do. Or, you know, connecting with these higher beings, especially when ritual magic I feel is so secretive and so like elitist. And I just feel so I just remembered that when I first started ritual magic and I realized that uh when I started researching the author Damien Eccles, I realized that he was on YouTube, right? Because once you get into something, I dove deep and was like, well, I need to consume all of it. So then, like, I went on YouTube and like watched a ton of videos, right? And then I realized
Right.
he was on Patreon and had never done anything on Patreon ever. So it had sparked me, and then I realized that if I paid a little more, I get to talk to it. So our before our first meeting, uh, I had two visions. One was, um, and it sounds so weird, and I'm going to be a little insecure about this, but like, uh,
No,
I
because
was going to be, you let me be.
we know what they mean now.
Right. Well, and what they showed me was, that I was going to be his right hand man. And I didn't know, I still don't technically know what that means in the grand scheme of thing yet. I don't think it's played completely out. And then the second one was I saw everybody doing ritual magic, almost like yoga. I mean, it was more in my vision, it was more like in their backyard, and you saw like a bunch of houses and everybody in their backyard like doing ritual magic as a practice. Um, so these were the things that like, and at first I think I thought that it was him to like he was supposed to bring magic to the world. And since I've been teaching my first ritual magic class, and I don't want to sound like ego is what I think of, but like, I think maybe I'm supposed to, or this is a new genre where we actually bring people into ritual magic without so much like an order, you know,
Yeah, like you don't have to be a part of this secret society to be able to do it.
right? Because I feel like, you know, with the deconstruction of the church and religion and how they are, and I know this isn't for everybody, but like how they're kind of judging and it doesn't feel good anymore. It's not like you get that like dose of divinity every Sunday. And I really wanted that. I really wanted a church of my own. And I wanted it in a way of like, I didn't want, because I love going to a Catholic church. I think they're beautiful. I love the stained glass. I always have. Like, and it was weird going through the metaphysical world because they were had such a strong um what's the word I want? Like resistance to it.
Mm.
Like the whole statement about throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You know, they can separate what it truly means compared to like what we've been taught and force fed that
Mhm.
religion is. And I really missed I really needed that like connection to the divine. And that's really what it came all down to is, and I would love nothing more than to give everybody this connection with the divine. Even if you just did the lesser banishing ritual and the invoking ritual, and that's all you did, that's fine, right? Because I feel like if we get enough people to do this and be aware of it and sit with divinity, like you won't have all this like fear mongering that's happening right now. And like you'll have a knowing instead. Your higher beings would be guiding you instead of like you being overwhelmed with fear and um, the society pressures that we get from being in a group, you know?
Well, and even in your day-to-day personal life, you're going to feel less anxious about every little thing. You're not going to like other people's feelings won't bother you as much. You'll feel calm and peaceful 99% of the time, I would say, because
Yeah,
that's what the biggest change for me was. I remember when Nicole was starting this class, she asked me, "What was the difference for you after you started doing like LBRP and everything?" And I was like, um, okay, well, right off the dome, my first response would be that I now know what it means when a long time ago, well, it feels like a long time ago, it probably wasn't that long ago, but Nicole had told me that it's like your energy's here and it doesn't matter what hits it, it doesn't move. You don't move. It's like a wall of
right,
invisibility almost that it doesn't affect you. I had a client ask me the other day, "How are you always so calm?" And that question like really made me think about myself for a minute. And it's a it's it's like a mixture of all of this stuff where it's like I don't take I don't have to take on other people's stuff anymore. I'm just here. I'm conscious and I'm aware of what's happening for you, but it's not happening to me.
right, right,
And I don't get as defensive anymore. I don't feel the need for it. I feel more whole. I feel more centered in my day-to-day life. I feel less anxiety, less like stress, less all of these things that we go through on a day-to-day basis. And you guys, it feels so good. And I agree with Nicole. We want that for everybody, even if you're doing just the two rituals she talked about, that it seems like a lot to start, but it can be something as simple because I wanted to bring this up too. So this is a great part time too. You can create your own temple within your head if you are shy or you don't
mhm,
have a space to do this in, or you feel like you're going to be judged, or you have you're with a family that has or friends or loved ones that have very different religious views than what you want to be practicing. You can create a space within your own head to where you could do it mentally, and it will be just as powerful because your intention and your energy is going into it.
right. Like that's when the one of the really good things like that Damien, like hearing his story, like his backstory, and realizing that you don't need any of the fancy stuff. Like he literally did magic in jail for 18 years without anything, right? So like coming from that point of view and getting having magic getting him out of jail, like those two things right there was all I needed to know. Because
Yeah.
I can't do this whole like flowery like teachers. Like I'm just not that. I'm too cynical for that. I need somebody that's been hardcore and really been down in the trenches, that because I won't take them seriously, right? Like that's just my makeup. Like I just like if you're too gentle, it just doesn't, like I'm too skeptical, right? Like I need to have some dirt, some darkness in there.
Yeah, I get
Um,
that.
so having and you know, there's some things when you're going through these waters that I really anchor onto because I just experienced this with our last class. Um, Derek, the other teacher, was talking about how Americans brand things, like anything spiritual. They bring it, if Europeans bring it over here, or religion or spirituality over here, we brand it like we did yoga, right? And it really hit me because you and I started this podcast and I started this ritual magic thing, right? And I had to really sit with myself because I was triggered. Is that what I'm doing? And what I've come to the conclusion is at this point is that it was something that I needed to work through because with him, he's very intimidating. He's very intelligent.
Yeah.
So what I did was is I came back. to my center and I was like, okay, where are the facts? Because my head is swimming all over the place, right? I need an anchor. So Derek is not going to waste his time to fuck with me. So it was my projection onto him, right? So if I know that he is not going to waste his time and he's not trying to be egotistical or um what's the other word? Shaming or elitist or anything like that. Like I have to hold on the truth, these truths that like, okay, he is in for my best well-being. So if that's true, then all this other stuff that I'm thinking that he's trying to do against me doesn't exist anymore because he wouldn't you realize that they do have the best interest in your heart and that you the stuff that you're saying in your head that you think they're saying is you projecting onto them and not them doing it to you, which was a which was huge.
That's a hard realization to come to too.
Girl, I
It's
was
so
like,
hard
it
because you have
was
to
so
admit to
hard.
yourself that it's like you. I am the problem here. And it's like,
Yeah,
I don't
it
want to
was
be
a
the
hard.
problem. I want everybody else to be the problem, victim.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the thing is I was getting power from being a victim to like, well, he is a snob and he doesn't, I'm telling all this stuff in my head and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. Like, these are people that do have our best interests at heart. They wouldn't be doing this class if they didn't have anything but that, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So those anchors, those facts, those truths that because we will overthink, because like there's stuff that we will be triggered by when you're doing this. And these are the triggers and the opportunities that you can take and really dive deep in and sit with them. And they will change your life immensely because these are the things that like reshape your world. And then
Right.
the more you reshape your world, and the more you have this stronghold on who you are, the better your manifestations will be. Doing this magic or for doing this kind of system automatically makes your life better. It automatically makes things fall into place. It automatically like you can do stuff like you have a bill coming up and and you need money and there's nothing wrong with doing personal gain with magic because you can't sit in divinity and meditate if you're hungry, if you're cold. Like you can't do that. There's nothing about being because I think in this culture, we think that you're supposed to be in poverty. And the more poverty that you're in and the more struggles that you do makes you more spiritual. And that is just not the case. You
That's
have to get
toxic.
there. Yeah, because it's telling you how to do it. And that's not it. You have to get there.
Hmm.
You have to go through all of this human stuff to get to that place where you don't need that stuff because it doesn't happen before that. It happens once you have everything.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a good TED talk right there. I'm like, damn, son. I don't have anything to add to that other than here, here.
So basically, what I'm saying is ritual magic is great. And if it's something you decide that is good for you know, so be it. Like, do what you can. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of research. And I absolutely love all of it. Like, I love the research. I love doing this podcast with you and really getting deep into like the holidays and mixing all this stuff together too, like Christianity, paganism, if we talk about Druidism and all of it, just all of it, the occult, esoteric, like it all, I love all of it so much. And I'm really glad that you and I like are on this journey and we're really like learning an in-depth, like instead of being not surfacey, but like um just a means to really dive deep in it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, because I guess at the end of the day, you guys, we're not. Would we like everybody in the world to try ritual magic? Yes, because what's the harm in trying? Honestly, when you sit with it and you listen to this podcast, what's the harm in trying? What's it gonna hurt?
And by the way, because this is what I was fearing, you're not gonna summon Steve. By the
You're not gonna summon some demon.
way.
I will say that, in the future, as you get more advanced, there are people that do work with demon entities.
Well, and actually, in ritual magic, you end up getting to a place where you actually marry your demons with your angels. And because
And they create little Nikki.
yes, they create a balance because demons are chaotic, unbalanced energy. They also have a purpose in our mental capacity or whatever, which we'll talk about more in the next episode because it's about monsters.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Me too. Yeah, you guys, I mean, here's the thing is with this podcast, we're opening all pathways. That's the purpose really. It's just to open every single pathway out there for you guys because we like every road. We want to walk every road. I don't want to walk one road and stick to the one road with my blinders on. I want to see every road that's open and I want to see the little trails that take me to the next road that I can
Right.
hike and that who knows there'll be a fucking waterfall on the way that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, the connections between all of it. Like it's so
Yes.
amazing. Like,
So that's our goal is to open those pathways for you guys too. So like if this episode hits you, man, buy that damn book, Ritual
yeah,
Magic by Damian Eccles. And maybe reach out to Nicole if you need some more help. If you want to take her class, that's also sick as fuck, yo. But in the future, like I said, we'll also be opening up some classes on Patreon. We're gonna have a lot of different things because we both house different skills. So
absolutely.
one of those skills is going to be Nicole's ritual magic class. I would love to see you guys taking that. Even if we got a couple people that were interested, that is a start, which would be so freaking cool, you guys. So
Because even if you took the class and you didn't like do ritual magic, like that wasn't your thing, you still would pick up. We went and dove deep into meditation, like, and why is it important? Because
mhm,
my understanding of meditation, and I wasn't really using it for what it was supposed to because people tell us to meditate, meditate, meditate. It's one of those things where, if I don't have the deeper reason of why I'm doing this, I'm not going to do it. I need
right,
to know why we're using it.
right. Yeah, because I use meditation for many different things now
Yes.
being further into my practice, and I feel like there's so many. Well, that's another episode, but anyways, yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of hard to get into this stuff and not being told why you're doing things and just being like, well, you'll figure it out. And it's like, okay, but that doesn't make me want to do it.
Right.
So like here's the thing, you want to get into ritual magic, you want to change your life, you want to feel better in your being, start ritual magic. Start it. Even if you're just doing just the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, you will then start to feel it. And you could go further, whether you choose to. You could add in different things because, again, there's no fucking rules, people. Anybody that tells you there are rules, heresy.
Yes.
Rebel,
Break
revolt.
it down. Break it down.
Break it down. Ask the questions. Be the person in the class that's annoying asking the questions. Because, like,
Absolutely.
that's the only way. We can't go into everything with blinders. So, we're taking all those blinders off for you people, and we're going to keep adding in some more things for you to look at. So yeah,
Yeah.
ritual magic.
Ritual magic.
I'm so excited for our next. Yeah, I always say this, everyone. I'm excited for all of our episodes, but monster folklore.
Monsters. I'm so excited.
Me
I
too.
read this book in 4 days, I think. Um,
Which, if you guys don't know, that's fucking impressive for her.
well, I had to, so I have a disability where I'm dyslexic and it's really hard for me to comprehend. So
Mm-hmm.
what I found was this thing on what is this, Google? It's playbooks. So when you buy a book on there, and it's kind of like a Kindle or whatever, when you buy a book, there's an option where it's going to read, like an AI person is going to read it to you. And it's so amazing and keeps me so focused on it and like helps me like get through it instead of like my mind wandering. It's like, it's almost like a rain, like,
I love
uh,
that.
like, I'm like, okay,
Yes.
like I'm doing this.
Okay. Okay, you guys. So yeah, next episode's on monster folklore. That'll be coming out next week. And I believe after that, we're talking about my favorite city in the whole entire world,
New Orleans?
New
New
Orleans.
Orleans?
We'll talk about that towards the end of the next episode, let you guys know what to expect. But yeah,
New
ritual
Orleans.
magic, buy the book, talk to the lovely human witch, Nicole.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, we will see you guys in the next one.
All right, bye, heathens.
Bye bye.